Hey Clear Lake lovers, Ross England with Clear Lake Guide Service here with your weekly fishing report. Today is July 25th, a Thursday. Yeah, I got it right. Just got done fishing. Been out a couple times this week. It's hot, I can tell you that. But you know what? Even when it's 100 degrees up here on Clear Lake, when you're sitting on top of 40,000 acres of 78-degree water, it never feels that bad. When it feels bad is when you get to the shore and you start walking across the parking lot. That's where it starts feeling hot. So there's a little light breeze today that you can kind of see behind me. So conditions, water temp was running anywhere from about 77 to 78.5 degrees, at least where I have been this week. Water clarity, the last couple days of hotter temperatures and little wind has definitely gotten the algae bloom to go. Where I'm sitting right now, I can still see probably a foot. There's a lot of suspended algae particles in the water. When you get down into the bottom ends of the lake, there's some really clear areas still, and then there's some areas where you can't see through the surface. I mean, it's not horrendous, not like it normally is for Clear Lake this time of year. So bottom line is, condition wise, it's pretty darn good. If you're not here, you're missing it. That's the short version. The bite has been pretty good. I thought it was a little bit tougher this week, and that's kind of normal, at least in my impression. That's kind of normal when these algae blooms get started. These fish have been swimming around in pretty clear water for months and months and months, since basically last summer. Now all of a sudden, some of this algae bloom starts popping up in significant areas, and it acts like a cloud. And I just think the fish have to adjust to it a little bit. It's definitely nothing harmful to them, but where we could sit on a spot and maybe catch 10 fish in one spot, now we're catching 2 to 5 fish, and then we got to move. We just can't sit in one spot and rack up big numbers. So we're running between 18 and 25 fish a day. So the numbers have dropped off a little bit for us. It's mostly on plastics, although we caught some wake bait fish this week. What else did we catch? A couple of jig fish. That's basically all that we're throwing. The topwater bite still remains a little bit disappointing to me. So you can't really count on your day based on what I'm doing. I'm fishing differently, so I still think that's a pretty good bite. We had today's 3 fish that were three pounders, and the rest of them, probably the biggest bulk of them were around 2, and then we had a handful of fish, probably 3 or 4 fish that were less than 10 inches, which is really encouraging. It's been a long time since we've had a week where we started catching those small fish that the future lake needs to have. So it's good to start seeing some of them show up. But overall, don't know if you can hear it here, but that sound, that's the sound of nobody here, which is typical for this time of year. Here comes one boat running over here just because I decided to say that. But the bottom line is, summertime, it's hot, I get that. But I'm telling you what, there's a lot of water out here you can fish with nobody being on it. So keep that in mind. I know that there's a BBT that's coming out Saturday. I believe that's going out of Redbud, out of Jimmy's shop, Clear Lake Bait and Tackle. I think last Saturday there was a BBT here as well. There was a tournament anyway. I think 17.5, 18 pounds, somewhere in that range, won it. If I was competing right now, I would start out throwing topwater first thing in the morning and be serious about it, and then I'd switch to a jig. I'm not necessarily a real believer in, jigs always catch bigger fish, but I can tell you this, the jig fish that we've caught over the last 2 weeks are in better shape than the majority of the plastics fish. And what I mean by that, Clear Lake fish have a certain look to them. They're short, they're stocky, they're thick, they're fat. The jig fish that we've caught have looked like that. Even though a 2-pounder is a 2-pounder, it doesn't make any difference if it's that long or this long. It seems like the jig fish, when you got a hold of one, it just was a fatter fish. It's feeding on something different that's got a higher protein level. They're not having to work as hard. Don't know the science behind it. I can just tell you from observation. If I was fishing a tournament, I would probably be throwing a jig, even though I had a short window of time. Because I think if I could get 5 bites on a jig, I would probably have 5 heavier than average fish, even though they're not going to be longer. So there's my tip for whatever it's worth. Ran into a couple of people this week. Always appreciate you saying hi. Thank you very much. And I think that's it for today. It's a little toasty out here for just sitting still. I think I'm going to go fish for a little while and actually see if I can catch some fish. So you guys and gals, have a great weekend. Be safe. Drink lots of water because it's going to be toasty. I think this weekend's supposed to be 101, 102, something like that on Saturday and Sunday. Remember, you got a tournament that's going out Saturday. Remember us. Hit that like button if you can think about it. Don't forget that Clear Lake Guide Service on YouTube, Facebook, and the internet. We've got a lot of room in August, and we've got some really good days coming up, so don't be afraid to book a trip. I promise you won't be disappointed. Caleb, have a good weekend, buddy.